name's Emily. I'm store manager of the Finisterre Bath store. Tonight I'm here to talk about Rave For the Avon. We have Charlotte Sawyer, who's the director. We have Lindsay, who is a life mermaid. And we have Emma from the Rivers Trust.
The investigation has found that water company discharged sewage on days when it wasn't raining, which is illegal. The practice,
So yeah, we're part of a campaign called Save Our Avon.
Do you guys know the mermaid who swims down the river with the big
Yeah, we do know the mermaid. So yeah, getting married to the river. Going to be Mrs. Avon.
Bring it back in.
It's like it doesn't look like it's clean.
Sometimes the levels are worse than others.
This, I believe, used to say prohibited.
When did this first arrive?
Possibly in response to the commotion we've been causing by the campaign.
Onto agenda petition debate to address sewage pollution in the Avon.
Rave For the Avon is a feature-length documentary that features the tapestry of people who love, care for and fight to protect their rivers, but in a very Bristol way.
So I first heard about the film from the amazing screening in Bristol, in Clevedon, and I got really excited because it wasn't just a screening, it was magical things that were happening within the community as part of the Clevedon Marine Lake, and yeah, I got really excited. And the things that, like when I first saw the film, the things that kind of resonated with me was how amazingly Bristolian it was, how much fun it was, but also like how passionate the community were to be like a part of their river campaign, a part of the journey of how they can get involved with the rivers. And yeah, that was just something that like really got me excited to kind of come and show it to the Bath store. And obviously the film is now showing in other cinemas, so since having it in screening here, it's been shown in Bristol, Patagonia, it's been shown in the Little Theatre in Bath as well. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I've watched it 2 or 3 times, so I can actually watch it again. Can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to create the film and how it came to be based in Bristol?
Yeah, I think I heard from a mermaid that a really interesting thing was happening, and I responded to the call out, and Lindsay brought me on board to film the incredible work that she was doing, mermaiding around, meeting lots of people and hearing all about the campaigns that are going on in Bristol. And I just saw in every person, everyone just doing their own way of kind of trying to protect the river or trying to connect with it. I thought, this is amazing, this is so cool. But it was also different, but at the same time, everyone was connected with each other, and that what they shared was a love for the river and also a kind of a creative expression. Everyone just wants to kind of express themselves and express their love for the river.
Lindsay, can you tell us why you bring creativity and storytelling into your campaigning work?
Yes, so I have always been an adventure explorer, and an idea popped into my head and it really excited me, and I grew up as a swimmer, but I'd never done a swimming adventure, so I thought I'd swim the length of the River Thames in a mermaid tail because I thought it was a fun way to raise awareness, but also by being a mermaid was more interesting for kids, but also just for people. They might be like, oh, why is there a mermaid in the water? And then I actually rescued a drowning cow along that journey. My story...
Sorry?
Gone
from mermaid.
My story sort of went viral and made national news, international. I got turned into a cartoon in Sweden, and then a school asked my permission to turn my story into their school play and said it had all the ingredients of a good kid's story. So I went along and watched it. It was really adorable. And then I was like, oh. And then I turned it into a book, toured my country with my dog dressed up as a cow. And it was just a really joyful way of raising awareness to look after the river. Like, I think one kid in the film, I can't remember what they say. What did they say?
Why is there poo in the river? And then they were like, I'm going to make a sign that tells people to stop putting poo in the river.
Yeah, but they asked me a question, and I'm like, there's no simple answer. But by them asking such a simple question, it makes it even more obvious that like it's not right. So it's just a fun, and sometimes I'm an empath. I feel a lot, and I'm quite sensitive, and you're no use when you're sad and low. So working with kids and in a joyful manner is a good way to like do my bit.
Emma, the Rivers Trust organised a big river watch where people can monitor like their feelings. Why do you collect the data from people? Like, and how do you use it?
Yeah, so what we really need to do is understand the health of our rivers if we're going to be working on, improving them. So we need lots more data, but data collection isn't always the most sort of like sexy or fun thing to talk about. But the Big River Watch is a really fun way to basically what we do is we invite people to go and look at their local river for 15 minutes and record the things they see. And that's an invitation for them to get to know their local river and to start loving it and to connect with it. And then that often inspires, further action. But one of the things we do is we ask, well, how do you feel when you're looking at this stretch of river? But also we ask them, do you think this stretch of river looks healthy? And one of the really interesting things we've found is that the people that say, yeah, I think my river looks really healthy, are way more likely to then, when they talk about their feelings, say, yeah, I feel calm, I feel relaxed, I feel really tranquil while I'm in this space. But the people that say, my river looks really unhealthy, are so much more likely to say, like, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm depressed. And so we all anecdotally know that like time in nature is really beneficial for our well-being, but to have that data that's collected from communities just really underpins that kind of thread of work. And you need to have data to back up the work that you're doing. So when we're working with, government or business or landowners, to be able to point to, listen, these communities have gone out, they've looked at their river, and this is how it's affecting their well-being, and we've got that wealth of data behind us, is such a useful thing when it comes to campaigning for like protecting rivers and other blue and green spaces.
Charlotte, what's been the most surprising reaction from the film so far?
I think people watching the film has mostly responded to how there are so many different ways that people can have like a relationship to the river and can feel connected to it. And it's something that I didn't realise until the film was finished. And I think it's something that I didn't know, and it's not until you kind of meet people, because I didn't used to swim that much in rivers, and I definitely never swam through the winter until I met people in the film, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is that mad, joyous look on their faces? I have to try this. And I think I saw that people do feel loved by the rivers as well as loving the river, because it's all those feelings. And it's that kind of connectedness and the positivity that you can feel when you're around a good healthy river and able to enjoy it. I didn't know when I was making the film that would be such a big thread, but then that's what people have really connected with. Even though the film is just full of all different people doing, we've got mermaids kind of swimming with towing an inflatable poo. We've got a woman who marries the river in a ceremony. We've got people who build swimming infrastructure next to a sign that says no swimming, and they just do it anyway. And people who test the water themselves, people who won't pay their water bills. There's so many people doing lots of different things. But the part of the film that people connect with most is a man called Frank who swims through the winter, and he doesn't kind of go to the gym. He can't really like heat his home in the winter, but he swims even through the winter because he just needs to be in water. And living in Bristol, that's where he can go, and he needs to be in nature. He needs to be kind of calm and quiet, like around nature, and that's what people respond to the most. And I think that's what they're inspired with the most.
Oh, I swim in the river most days, rain or snow. If I don't do this, I'm going to go nuts.
Oh, I hear you. I'm like...
That is nice, tingly. Oh, God. You cried this week, yeah. We're just there for each other, and the water takes the pain away. What do you say? This will be my first time swimming in my river. A little bit nervous. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Let's go. You never want to get out. Like mummy.
But I like to go underwater.
Whereas I know how clean this river is and I don't go underwater.
And I feel nice and warm and love it.
Naomi is going to make her vows.
What are your hopes for the film's national cinema release in 2025?
Yeah, we're really, really excited that the film is coming out in the UK in cinemas, and my hope is that people will gather and then also discuss what's going on in their local area afterwards. And you know, there's so many ways that you can find out what's going on. You know, you can like connect with the local Rivers Trust, or you can like find out what people are already doing or start a new campaign. But what I love about cinemas is people getting in a room. And then also because it's just a good sound system, and we work really hard on the sound to really give that surround sound sense of all the different sounds. You know, we've got the birds, we've got the water, we've got the wind, and all those things that help you kind of really feel calm. So I love just people being like focused and immersed in and watching the film.
Lindsay, your work as a children's author and campaigner means that you're often talking about the threats to our natural world. How does swimming in rivers and being part of swimming communities help you stay positive?
So I grew up as a swimmer, and pool swimmer, and I did swim in lakes like in my 20s and 30s, early 30s, when I was doing triathlons, but I never really felt part of a community. And then after I did the length of the Thames, people around the country messaged me to ask if I wanted to join them for a swim, and that there was a warm bed for me. And I'm a yes person, so I took them up on it. So I cycle around the country going to all these people inviting me to stay with them. And the more I did it, the more people invited me somewhere. And I'm a nomad, so I never really knew where my place was to be. And it can be wonderful and thrilling and exciting and inspiring, but it can also be very lonely. And it was the first time in my life where I'd felt really welcome and seen, and I could just rock up in any place in the country. So now if I go somewhere for work or a gig or whatever, I'll post in a Facebook group, anyone fancy a swim tomorrow, and someone will respond. So it's just very welcoming. Anyone can join anywhere. So you've already got an army of soldiers to campaign, because water is one of the few issues where I don't think anyone can disagree that poo should be in the water, or plastic or whatever. I think everyone wants to have clean water.
How can films, poems, music and other pieces of art that celebrate our relationship to nature help in our fight to protect rivers?
Well, I think, you know, creativity and media and a lot of the work that you two both do is such a powerful tool. I mean, we're storytellers as humans, right? We respond very well to story, even though quite a lot of my work sometimes works with data. It's the stories behind the data and that kind of thing that actually pull connection into either the work that we're doing on the rivers themselves. So, you know, whether it's in films or in books or on social media, like, it's such an amazing tool to be able to introduce people both to the beauty of rivers and the wildlife and things that live in them, or to introduce them to the fact that rivers or spending time in nature can be really amazing for you and your well-being, or even to highlight, you know, the problems that are happening and raise awareness of some of the things people might not be aware. Like, a lot of people perhaps prior to the last couple of years would have had not really much knowledge of like the amount of sewage that's going into our rivers, but thanks to storytelling and media and social media, it's now, you know, it's on the tip of everyone's tongues. People are so aware of it, and that means that so many more people are getting involved in the campaign. And the more people you have that are calling for a thing, the more awareness you can raise, and to be honest, the more conversations you can have at higher levels. So if storytelling and film and poem and all of those things you just mentioned can connect people to rivers, you're effectively just growing that community and growing, like you said, that army of people that are willing to sign petitions, go on marches, get involved on social media, you know, email their MP or take any of those actions, or, you know, volunteer or do citizen science and that kind of thing. So yeah, storytelling is an amazingly powerful tool.
And also I think like a story like this, where it's kind of it's celebrating kind of the people's expression of love for rivers, celebrating their relationship, celebrating the creativity around it, as well as incorporating, you know, it's great that the Rivers Trust, you know, gather the data and help us understand the data. And then the news articles come out and all this stuff. So it's really great that kind of we all also bring in the stories, because it helps us to like take a step back and just remember like, oh, we can go back to the river and swim and like relax, and we can kind of celebrate each other and kind of get filled in again. But then, like, I tell stories as a filmmaker because in response to the work that like the Rivers Trust will do, and the information I hear and the kind of data that's gathered that's so shocking and overwhelming. So it's like all those things happen together, and that's why it's so amazing that, you know, in this film we do have a bit of statistics, a bit of information, but we've also got music, we've also got drum and bass because it's Bristol.
Yeah, I loved all the music score. Can you tell us a bit about the poster actually? Because obviously that's an amazing piece of artwork that was created for the film.
Yeah, this is one of our posters, and at one of our screenings at a big IMAX cinema in Bristol, the incredible muralist Farah Fortnam painted it during the screening. And we had a DJ, we had Nayo, who's a DJ who composed music for the film. You know, she was DJing, we had drum and bass playing, and you know, Emma was there with bottles of samples, kind of talking to people about it. And so it was this great night of kind of, everyone had watched the film, we'd kind of celebrated all that creativity, but then we continued it. And that's what I love about the life of Rave for the Avon since then, is that there's still art that's being made, there's still, you know, music that's being celebrated, and there's still like events going on where people can be filled by that creativity.
Were there any other unique ways people have got involved with, and where else has the screenings been shown?
Yeah, we've been up and down and side to side. The Rivers Trust organised a screening up in Keswick, and they rented out a cinema there and celebrated their gaining bathing water status. And then Surfs Against Sewage organised a screening down in Cornwall to gather people to a new campaign to say, like, this is going on and this is ways that you can get involved. And then quite a few anthropology departments and geography departments, like in Oxford University, the School of Geography has screened the film. So it's been in village halls, it's been on IMAX cinemas, you know, it's been like in a real range of places.
Lindsay, can you tell us a bit about Conan bathing? So obviously they feature a lot in the film. The campaign group that you're part of, and what is next for Conan?
So we normally test the water quality throughout the bathing season, which is April to October. But now we're hoping that we'll be able to continue testing through winter and keep up the love of people caring for the river. And with the help of the film, and the petition that the girls organised a couple of years ago, I organised a rave outside City Hall, so Rave for the Avon. And so, but with the spread of just more events and the film, more people are interested, aren't they?
Yeah, and we've now got a charter for the Avon, which is kind of a community collaborative document which talks about like how we think a river should be kind of protected and what values we have in the river and how we should look after it. And loads of people have been signing that since. And that's the type of thing where what we see missing from, you know, what the government has in protecting rivers is not recognising that, like, in our charter, the charter is called a Thriving Charter for the Avon, written by the community. And one point is in there is that we think that if more people have access to rivers, then there'll be more people caring for it, keeping an eye out for it, noticing sewage or any pollution incidents, and more of your ordinary people who just want to protect the river, don't want to abuse it. So, you know, that's something that's in our charter, but that's not something in like the national framework for rivers. So, you know, from a community organised document, there's stuff that we think is missing there on the national scale.
And Emma, what advice would you give to those who want to protect the rivers or do something similar like this in their local areas?
Oh, well, I mean, some of them we've mentioned, like signing local charters and getting involved in local groups and things. But I think one thing that's exciting is there is so many things that you can do if you want to get involved. So you can really cherry pick whatever your skills are or what your interests are. You don't necessarily have to be a person who wants to go and spend time in a big community group if you don't want to, or you don't have to be politically involved if you don't want to. But yeah, there's so many things you can do. You can sign up to find your local Rivers Trust is a really good one, because there will be a group nearby to you that's running different events or volunteering opportunities. So you might find yourself doing a litter pick and actually physically cleaning up a river, or you might find yourself doing some citizen science and helping to gather data, because at the Rivers Trust we do love ourselves some data. You could be like river fly monitoring and seeing what the health of the insects inside the river and things are doing.
That's fun for kids as well, isn't it?
So fun. It's fun for adults as well. I really like it. You could be a little bit more politically minded. You can engage with campaigns like with organisations like not just the Rivers Trust, but Steps Against Sewage will often run campaigns that are trying to get a particular political point across at a particular moment which is relevant to government. So keep an eye on what charities are saying. You might be able to support by emailing your MP about a certain issue. If you have a platform, use that, or get involved in social media, like make noise in whichever way you feel you're able to, or give your time in whichever way you feel you're able to. Go and do the Big River Watch in the spring. Go and spend 15 minutes looking at your local river and just download the app and be part of that survey. That's such a small, simple thing to do, but you're part of this big group doing something wonderful, gathering data.
I love the Big River Watch. I put up such a lovely photo of a swan. It let me get so close to it. Maybe I shouldn't say I got so close to a swan, but yeah, like, and I really like putting in the feelings bit because I like sharing that. You know, I think, you know, water companies have said that we don't have the right to swim in rivers. We don't have the right to swim in oceans. So that's why, you know, from data collection, from influencing, just spreading that message that we think we do have the right and we will determine that we have the right. You know, that is such a obvious, simple message, but it's actually not everyone believes that. So even something as simple as that, we have to kind of share. So yeah, there's so much to do, which is really great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.